All right. Max posted a video, what the hell is a casual? And I'm curious because everyone's always like, everyone's a competitor or a casual or whatever. So I'm curious to see, what does Max think of casual? Hey guys, hope you've been enjoying the YouTube content. I've been working hard to consistently upload on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Be sure to like the videos and hit that subscribe button.
One side of a conversation.
People always say if you play games on the internet, you're not a casual. That's always been people's argument. If you play any sort of game on the internet, you're not a casual. My definition of casual is, actually, casual is a very hard term to really come about because there's no right answer for what a casual is. I would say if you play in tournament, you're a casual. Plenty of casuals play in tournament.
So what I'm going to do here is make a graphic. We're going to make a graphic.
Oh, Microsoft Paint, let's go. Multi-fighting game player. That's what they call me. My title is multi-fighting game specialist. A lot of the people at Riot, multi-fighting game specialist, that's what they call. No longer, I've broken the mold of being a Street Fighter player. I'm a multi-fighting game specialist. I guess it's because I have trophies for multiple different games, because like I have trophies for Street Fighter 5 and 6 obviously, but I also have trophies for Marvel 3, Guilty Gear Strive. I have one Dragon Ball trophy.
This is Max's baseline understanding of what a casual actually is.
All right, chat, do you think casuals are 50-50? Because I think he put it up to 75. I think the casual player base for most video games are like 90-10, 95-5, something crazy like that. I think there's more than this.
Like novice is a good way of putting it. Let's put that novice, right?
Novice?
To understand how the game even works, okay? And to be real, I think this is skewing, in my personal opinion, a little bit different. So let's do here. I'm probably gonna do something like that. Feels about.
That's kind of high. All right, chat. Intermediate and casual. Casual to me is like you don't understand how fighting games work. That's where casual kind of stands from. And intermediate, I would say you played a fighting game before. You played a video game before. I think there's a different level between, you know, you have good game sense versus not even having good game sense at all. People who actually play fighting games, I feel like would be broken in those kind of multi-game things, because like learning fighting games to most people is always the hardest step, and it's always so weird. I remember Emberu did that where she just played Honda. Tyler One always does that. I think like Box is the best fighting game player of people they actually let in,
and that lines up because in the majority of games that I've played where I've actually focused on rank, by comparison, in that rank where I lie is usually in like the top 10%, around the quote. Actually, no, that's wrong. It's usually like the top 1 to 5%. So
I feel like people actually don't realize this because people in other games, this exists too. Like in Overwatch, bro. I remember when I played Overwatch, I was like Grandmaster in Overwatch, sometimes top 500, but like people don't realize how sweaty you actually gotta be to get into these levels. Like this is borderline not touching grass level. Same thing goes for like Marvel Rivals. I know Marvel Rivals had it too. Marvel Rivals is the same thing. Marvel Rivals not as bad as Overwatch actually. This is like, yo, we're not touching grass anymore. We're out of the grass realm.
You're an advanced player. You're pretty good at the game. Let's actually make a quick little
that's still
line.
not even small. It's still that little white. I just got this game because I thought you know, this game looked cool. Novice to me is more, I play video games, but I never really played a fighting game, so this is kind of my first fighting game. So I'm getting into fighting games really. Intermediate's like I can do a Shoryuken, but I can't do it on command. At least I can do the input. Advanced is like, yo, I'm pretty good at the game. I may not get top 8, but I'm definitely gonna get out of pool. If I went to a tournament, I'll get out of pool. And then pro is like, you know, sweaty. No, he said 2,000 hours is advanced, which to be fair, I think a lot of players who actually do have 2,000 hours are pretty advanced. Like I know there's players out there with 2,000 hours that still like they'll make it out of pools, but that's about it. There are a lot of Street Fighter 6 players with like so many hours, like they'll make it out of pools, but I wouldn't expect them to get top 8. But if they play like a novice or an intermediate or a casual, they'll definitely just destroy them.
The very large majority of people that play this, I
think the casual line would be bigger. I think the casual line, because this sex is like 60%. I think the casual line is probably in the 70s. Novice is probably like 20. Intermediate's probably like 8. Advanced is probably 1 or like 1.5, and pro is like less than 1%. What is a player that destroys his local every single time but loses at major? Intermediate or advanced, it depends on the competition at his. If you're drowning in pool, you gotta be less than intermediate. I think advanced is getting out of pool.
Or damage you do and I win. These are the people that look at competitive fighting games.
There's so many people like that who just think, you know, the faster I hit the button, the more damage I do. That's not even true. But yeah, that's not even true. How many 1800 MR players can anti-air? Like I said, if you're 1800 MR and you go to a tournament, say you went to an Evo, if you're 1800 MR and you got out of pools at Evo, I would still consider you're probably intermediate or advanced. 1800 MR is already, you're very high. I think there's pros in the community, but the pros, like I said, in Max's case, the pros are like, I can go to a tournament and I'm guaranteed to get top 8 because I'm just that good. That's what I consider a pro. Like, if you look at like punk stats for tournaments, there's no way you're not going to say that's not a pro player. I think if you can consistently get top 8, you're doing pretty good for a fighting game player. I feel like I'm pretty advanced, but suffer from anxiety in tournaments, but some players got a different level online than in person. Yeah, no, there's plenty of players that play better online than in person. I always said Rob played better online than offline. That was probably Rob's biggest thing.
I would say tourists. They are looking for a game that might be cool, that seems cool, have no inclinations of where they're going to go, how it's going to affect them, all that kind of stuff. These people, I don't even think it's fair to call them casuals. I think they are mostly tourists.
I don't think being called a tourist is being called a fake fan. I think most players in stream chats gotta at least be like novice. You're in a streamer's chat trying to understand or get better at the video game. I don't think anyone who goes on Twitch is a casual. That's just how I see it. Yeah, if you're watching other people play the game, you care a little bit. That's how I've always seen it. When I watch like Marvel Rivals videos on, you know, how to get better as or how to play Strange better, I wouldn't consider myself a casual. I'm trying to learn how to get better at the game. I wouldn't say I'm trying to go pro in Marvel Rival. I'm just playing because the game's fun, but I wouldn't consider myself a casual or a tourist. The casual or tourist is the 12-year-old picking Spider-Man killing himself constantly.
I would consider myself advanced, but nowhere near as good as a pro. Mostly a lie around intermediate right now.
I think this is just your average gamer. I think this started because he was talking about SF6 and Tekken. This graph probably wouldn't exist for like Marvel 3, but for Street Fighter 6 and Tekken, this definitely applies. What do you call guys who refuse to go into training mode and just repeatedly match their head against the wall? They're stuck in plot. I think they're novices or even intermediate. If you're platinum, you have somewhat understanding of the game. You're probably like high novice or intermediate. If you have 200 plus hours and you're still plat 2, that's fine. People learn slower than others. When I first learned how to play fighting games, I was terrible too. When I was learning how to play like Marvel 3 and Street Fighter 4, I was awful too. And I remember it took me like 3 weeks to learn how to bold cancel. Now I can do it effortlessly. But even when I was first starting out, I was really bad.
The amount of people that are actually good at this game from a pro's perspective is way different. Like way different than what somebody like myself even has a perspective of what casuals.
I think when you're at the highest level, you call people bad who aren't really bad. Like I said, I try to look at it from like more like a max graph than like a pro graph. I would say I would be on the pro graph level, but even then, like if you're platinum, you know how to play the game. I'm not gonna deem you bad if you're platinum. It's okay if you're platinum. You're obviously a novice, but on the pro graph, I would say anywhere here, I'm calling you a casual if you're not even master yet. The cutoff here on the pro graph is probably like 1600 MR. Like if you're not 1600 MR, you're just a casual or a tourist. But that's on the pro level. And I think like here is like 1700, 1800. This is 1900. This is 2000. And then this is like if you can get like 21, 2200.
A novice seems like a god.
That's true. Like I've seen people like, you know, Box is amazing at Street Fighter. At the same time, this is not to hate on like Box, but like Box is okay. I'm not trying to, you know, toot my own horn. I would up Box in Street Fighter 6. But that's kind of just like the different levels of where you're at. And then like for a casual, you seem like a god when at the same time you might not even see yourself as that good. There's no real good understanding about how good or bad somebody is. It's just are they winning or not? That's why for the pro graph, pros have high standards and you're like, oh, this guy is trash until he gets to like 1700, 1800 MR. I don't like thinking like that because that's, to me, that's elitism. And that's just me kind of tooting my own horn and being like, you're bad at the game. Max is good, but even like I said, there's just levels to how good you actually are. So it's a weird kind of take to have. Well, this is SF6 now. What I'm considering pro in the master tiers is 0.004%. This is what I would consider a pro. If you're over 2k MR, you're probably a pro. But this is like so little. Chat, is any player on this list would you guys not consider a pro? Anyone here not a pro? The only person here, which I was a bit surprised at Chakotay, but I think Chakotay honestly is the only one I would consider not a pro. But Chakotay doesn't really go to offline events like that. That's why I would only put Chakotay here. I was surprised to see Chakotay here, but I think everyone else here kind of fits the criteria. If there was an offline event with internationals there, I could probably see any one of these players getting top 8 there. But that's just how I see it. And I think according to Max's graph, even if you go from the pro graph, I would still consider all these players pro. In the Max graph, novice is probably an intermediate. Novice is intermediate, advanced is like master, and then pro is like anyone you've seen on a tournament stream. But that's just Max's graph. But like I said, I think it's different depending on who you ask. If I asked you to do a DP in training mode, can you do it? If the answer is yes, you're already not a casual. What skill level would I be if I perfect parried you multiple times? If you perfect parry me multiple times, you're at least a novice, but how you take advantage of the perfect parry is going to make me consider whether you're intermediate or advanced. Should execution be a part of game design and future fighting games? In most modern fighting games, it's just weird because we've kind of gone away from the executional barrier. Daigo did like a video talking about that because he was saying in the Street Fighter 4 times, you could kind of just gap somebody on execution. Like you didn't really need to be good at the game because if you could execute combos better than the person, you would probably win. Or if you knew all the OSs, like if you were just executionally gifted, you would probably beat people better than, who were more knowledgeable of the game than you are, but you could just do the thing. But it's much different now. I only don't like modern because modern doesn't leave too many ways to play the game. And I think modern's inherently bad. I'm like, if you have a condition and you can't play on classic, that's fine. I also think modern kind of kills how you can play the game. I think it's hard to make different characters because modern exists. I think modern's good to get more people into the game, but I think it's bad at high level. I think it makes the game harder to balance. I don't like modern, and I will list all the reasons I don't like modern. I have 3 main reasons why I don't like modern. I don't like modern because I feel like it makes the game harder to make, because I think it's harder to balance because you can't really have certain character archetypes because modern might just blow it up. 2, I don't like modern because I feel like if you play any other fighting game, say you play Street Fighter 6 and you're like, man, I really like SF6 and modern's cool and all, and then say, I don't know, hypothetically you're like, oh man, well, I played SF6, now I want to try Guilty Gear Strive. Well, time to boot up Strive. Wait a minute, I can't do these motions. Well, this game's terrible. I'm not going to play Strive now. You can't, like, you're limiting yourself to being able to play other fighting games. So I don't like that either. And like, I get SF6 gets more people into it, but I also think it's taking more people out of it. I have no problem with modern competitively. I just think it makes the game harder to balance. And I also think it's going to get less people into the fighting game genre as a whole. Because like I said, I think fighting games are great, but at the same time, I don't think modern is healthy. I think anyone who's gotten Street Fighter 6 and turned on the game because modern is cool is great. If you're that player, more power to you. If you got into fighting games because you think modern is cool, great, more power to you. I love you. You're perfect the way you are. But the problem starts coming from, are you going to play any other fighting game? Now I'm kind of scared. Because say it like I said, you got into Street Fighter 6, you played modern, you're doing modern DP, yeah, this and that. Fatal Fury just came out. Say you try Fatal Fury and you're like, I can't play this game because it doesn't have modern. Now you can't play other fighting games because there's no modern. Tourism to me is weird in video games because I feel like everyone's a video game tourist. I feel like most single player games are video game tourism. I feel like people buy single player games, you'll beat the story and then you're kind of done. That's video game tourism. What, I bought God of War Ragnarok and I beat it and then I was like, oh, this game was cool. I never turned that game back on again. That's how video games work. I feel like it's very rare where you stick around on a game, but that's why fighting games are something so great, because you can stick around and keep trying to get better. I don't think there's many games around where you actually stick around. I mean, I guess I still play Yu-Gi-Oh to this day. I play Destiny and like fighting game, but those are the rare cases where you can actually stick around and keep playing a game. These are Capcom's most sold games. Obviously, there's no fighting games up here because fighting games. Where's the first fighting game? First fighting game is Street Fighter V. Do you guys think Street Fighter V is the best Street Fighter? Probably not. I don't think anyone would probably say Street Fighter V is the best Street Fighter. But I also think now is because there's so many more people playing video games, and that's because video games are way more accessible nowadays than all these old ones like Street Fighter 2 or whatever old. But look, Street Fighter 6 is coming up really hot on Street Fighter 5, and bro, this game's been out for what? 2 years. SF6 will definitely probably pass SF5, but I think it's because of the accessibility that SF6 is doing. I mean, I think we're getting way more people into fighting games. There's so many people who come up to me and was like, yo, Street Fighter 6 is my first Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6 is my first fighting game. Street Fighter 6 is it. You're saying SF6 is my first real fighting game, but I think there should be some sort of level of execution required. Me, being the old man that I am back in my day, Street Fighter 4 was that level of execution, but people didn't really like that game because the execution kind of gatekept. And then SF5, while it not having a high level of execution, was still harder than 6 in my opinion, because you have to be really good at hit confirming, which was actually not that easy, because if you ask Knuckle to, his confirms are dog, and he wouldn't even lie about it. You know, chat, what I'm really scared of is this Street Fighter 6 monopoly, where Street Fighter 6 kind of just kills every single fighting game because SF6 is the quote-unquote God's game, and everyone's just forced into playing SF6.